Hi everybody, today we're going to be talking about Warhammer 40k Boltgun. It's a crazy, insane and mad game that I absolutely adore. It is a boomer shooter set in the Warhammer universe where you play as a space marine, aka a walking fridge, that shoots giant guns at big ass enemies, and that's about where we begin. And the game is at its core fairly simple. It is at the end of the day a boomer shooter, meaning a fast-paced Doom-like in terms of like the old Doom games, the ones where you had a gun and you just run around and shoot enemies. Think of it like Nightmare Reaper if you watched that video from me. And it is set in the Warhammer universe, and it is really, really good. So let's get into the good and the bad of this and why I think I ultimately kinda adore this game. Now, just to mention that I am not super into Warhammer, so if you're expecting me to go into the lore of the game and so on, I am not gonna be doing that. I am gonna mention the things that I find cool, especially visually, because I do think Warhammer is a super interesting setting that lends itself to a lot of really, really interesting visual designs and so on, and I think some of them are really captured well here in Boltgun. Now, obviously, I am going to pronounce some things wrong here. I am sorry, I'm not that deep into Warhammer, so I simply don't understand. And I do find it to be a cool universe and a setting. I just haven't had the time to delve into the actual stories and lore behind it yet. Hopefully that will change though. So with that being said, let's get into it. First off, I do want to just mention the bad. Now, the bad in Boltgun is fortunately very, very slim. There aren't a lot of bad things in this game, and I just want to very quickly run over the things I dislike the most. And starting off is simply that in my opinion, there is a lack of enemy variety, being that there aren't that many enemies and rather quickly you've seen all of them, then there are some variations and so on. But it is in general just the same couple of enemies you'll find over and over and over. It sounds like it might get boring, but the way the game makes it interesting in general is through the arenas and the arena design that, generally speaking, keeps things unique and interesting. Secondly, I'm not a big fan of the weapon arsenal. Not being that it's too small, just being that I don't feel like the entire thing with like having that amount of weapons with no upgrades and no progression kinda, in my opinion, isn't the best move. I would have liked some form of progression, be it either skins or just anything to upgrade, really. Anything to make me go, yes. Would have been nice. I get why it isn't there, and I get why it was probably cut for other features. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing either, as it can just sum up a relatively easy game comparison, right? Like it'll make the game a little bit easier to understand for new people, and that's ultimately always a good thing. And very much so, lastly, I would have just liked to see more of the pixelated cutscenes. I think they're fucking awesome, they're super cool. More of that, please, next time. Now, let's talk about the much easier and much better thing to talk about. The thing that I actually like to focus on being the positives of Boltgun. Warhammer 40k Boltgun is a retro-style shooter, and that is about as objective as I can be. It is fantastic. The movement is the chunkiest and best movement I have ever played with. It genuinely do feel like you're playing as a space marine, which is one of the most positive things you can say in a game where you're supposed to be playing as a space marine. The way the armor sounds especially is just good. It chunks against the earth when you're walking and sounding like you're an actual refrigerator. It is so good. And it comes down to the gun sounds as well. All of them universally are really, really nicely sounding, and they feel fairly good to play with. And while there are some exceptions to the rule of guns I like to play with less, the more I play with them, the more they grew on me as things turned out. The best thing I had to do was just play with them to learn how to enjoy the actual weapons. After playing a little bit with them, I can safely say I like pretty much all of the weapons in Boltgun. I completed the game on normal, so everything was sort of useful at some point, and I think that's also obviously contributing to what you end up liking and not liking. But I think it's important to say that they all feel good. And the shotgun that you get, one of the earliest weapons in the game, feels especially good. The way that shit slams against enemies is just perfect. That's all you want. And on top of that, because this is Warhammer, and Warhammer is a little bit gory, you have your chainsaw being your melee weapon to do visual finishers where you cut up people and blood is everywhere, and it's fucking cool. I absolutely adore the style. The style is definitely there, and especially because of the pixel art that the game does have, like that sort of a little bit pixelated aesthetic, it's just perfect. It fits it so well. Boltgun's level design is fucking awesome though. I really have to give props to the way that they have made everything feel like it fits into the setting, even for a guy like me who doesn't know a lot about Warhammer. I think that's fucking cool. The fact of the matter is, anything from down to the designs of the enemies to the weapons all feel like they fit into the setting in some way, you know. We've all seen some of the Warhammer stuff. You probably can't avoid seeing it if you spend any amount of time online. And Boltgun feels like it fits right into the setting. It actually feels like it continues another Warhammer game being Space Marine, and is sort of a spiritual successor to that, but then Space Marine 2 got announced, and now I feel weird about that comparison. But it's a game that feels really good, regardless. It's also a game that easily stands its own, despite the fact that it is rather short. I'd say that the replay value is there to give it another go. I personally had to do the first half of the game twice, as I was playing it on Game Pass, but there was an issue where I couldn't save. Boltgun is a completely insane game though, because at times you'll be fighting big groups of mobs throwing grenades left, right, and center, and it'll feel like a Helldiver scenario. So many enemies all over the place, and you're exploding every single one of them, and none of them are gonna be left walking when you're done. It is incredible. The feeling of then immediately switching from a gun into a chainsaw is also just there. Because in Boltgun, they do this thing where they slow down time when you are hovering over an enemy with your chainsaw, and then you can, do the visual attack where you put your chainsaw into him, and then you tap pressing that melee button, you just keep spamming it, and it'll just keep slicing. And it is strong, it feels good to do, and by God does it kill fast. You can murder some real big guys with that thing, and it is pretty damn dope. And obviously we can't talk about cool weapons and design and stuff without talking about a retro shooter's equivalent of the BFG. Now, the equivalent of the BFG in Boltgun is this gun that shoots a laser beam, right? With a ball on there and a little black hole that absolutely shreds anything. It's the anti-grav gun. It is really fucking strong. And while it's not as cool as the BFG in my opinion, partially because it is a giant laser beam that you control, it's not just a big ass black hole that, sucks everything into it and, everything dies. No, here you need to hover over enemies for a bit. It's really good though, regardless, but I personally enjoy the BFG a lot more. Because, BFG love, let's be real. I think in addition to that, it's easy to say that I think my favorite addition to Boltgun was the ammunition crate you can pick up that would change the way that your normal Boltgun shoots. You can pick up some of that could penetrate enemies, or they deal a little bit extra damage and so on, and I think that's a really nice addition, and I don't understand why every gun didn't have that, nor do I understand why the guns that had it don't have the option to, have that transferred over to other guns, or be a permanent upgrade or anything else like that, as I would have loved to have a feature like that in the game. Anything that could permanently upgrade or change the way I play would have been really fucking cool. And it's a shame that it doesn't have it, but it's not the end of the world. The game is fairly short, lasted me about 9-ish hours, and was, generally speaking, really fun throughout those 9 hours. Now, there aren't really any extra content to go for, but like I said, I think the replay value itself is there through just the sheer, really well-designed levels and how fun they are to play. And I think my argument would be that, yeah, you can absolutely replay this game just because of that. And whilst I don't have anything super deep or thematic to say about Boltgun, I can say that it's a crazy shooter. You will go from fighting frogs in the sewers to a actual godlike being and purging the sun from heretics. All meanwhile, you will be laughing at them, making jokes at their expense and taunting them. every step of the way. And I think it is really fucking dope, I'll be completely honest. The way that you can actually just fly around as a space marine really just makes the game feel ridiculous in a way, and I absolutely adore it. On higher difficulties, that's obviously not going to be the same thing, where as on normal you can get away with it. You will get very low quite often, and you'll have to think on your feet while you're playing, and I think that's one of the most enjoyable parts of Boltgun. Now, to me, this game is fantastic. However, if you grew up more in the modern shooter era and you don't like boomer shooters like the retro, you really move fast, that's like the thing, all of that. If you aren't into that, if you aren't into the old Doom games, I wouldn't probably try Boltgun, but I would say for anybody else, or anybody who has Game Pass or a chance to play it, play Boltgun. It is good, it is fun in my opinion. And more than anything else, it is just a really good feeling game to play. That being said, I hope you all have a wonderful day. The next video is hopefully gonna be the Dark Souls 3 one, albeit it might also be something else. I haven't quite decided yet, as I am not done with Dark Souls. And I do want to finish Dark Souls 3 with the 100% and everything that and the achievement before I upload. So thank you all very much for the time spent here tonight. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week, and I love you all very much. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.